Welcome to Virtual Coffee with Dawn Rickabaugh, the Note Queen, where we talk about owner financing and notes. Financial solutions, one mom and pop to another.
We got a few minutes left. I mean, I could go over that deal. If anyone has anything else they want to ask or share, or I could just say, here's the real numbers of how that actually works. Something that might be fun for people. I don't know. It seems good right now in the last few minutes.
Yeah, go ahead, Don. Please complete your thoughts about the deal.
Okay, well, okay, so in this, I'm going to tell you about that deal in Hawthorne, which is a little town, basically Army outpost. I don't know if they're still there, but I think like the Army, there's like, if you drive out there. Now, if you know Nevada at all, you know, where we are in Carson City and Reno, we're right next to the Sierras, right? But if you go east, it's just like desert for miles. And this little town of Hawthorne is based, there's an Army outpost there and just bunkers, like all these huge bunkers, just on and on and on and on. And I think they're for storing bombs and things, or for detonating old ones, or something weird like that. Or I'm not really sure, but it has its own little microeconomy that's really heavily dependent on the military base. But anyway, it's been really a solid. There's not a lot of appreciation or depreciation, and there's you know, solid demand for rents that, you know, people have decent jobs. So this gal, she actually found me on Craigslist, of all places. I had just, you know, I keep on Craigslist. I buy houses and mobile homes, and also I buy promissory notes. And she just happened to be scouring, going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm up against this balloon, and I can't get a loan. I couldn't get the bank. You know, the credit union wouldn't put it together for me quite yet, or, you know, whatever. And so she found me, and she goes, I'm just wondering, what's this note thing? Do you think you can help me? So here's the deal. The property is worth well, she bought it. Now, I have to say, this is a little bit of a head tipper. And please don't do this. Please don't do this unless there's other circumstances. There's an appraisal on the property for $275, but she bought it for $250. But with, what can I write on? Oh gosh, I'm not gonna do it. So basically, she bought it for $250. She got $150,000 first owner carryback, right? So the owner of the property lent her the property for 1 year at 8%, but due now, like May 22nd of this year. And that year came, you know, a year comes and goes pretty darn fast. So that was her first position, owner carryback. She put 0 down payment. Then she got a $50,000 second from someone she knows at 14% interest. And then she got a third $50,000 loan from someone she knows at 8%. Now, you would think that the third position person would be getting 14%, and the second position might be willing to take 8%, but that third position loan is hanging out there in the wind, man. It wouldn't take much for the equity to disappear, especially if the first starts foreclosing, which she's making noise. She goes, actually, you know, I got my $250. I think I'd like to own this 6+ back again. I don't really want to work with you. I want my money, or I want the property back, which would have wiped out the $100,000 in the second and third. So anyway, I'm going, okay, well, if the appraisal's at $275, the gross rents are like $2,800. So the gross rent is 1% of the purchase price, or the value of the property. So in my mind, when I'm in my area, when I'm thinking about, does this make sense as a rental? I go, well, how much do I have in it, and will gross monthly rents be 1% of my all-in acquisition and rehab? And if it's yes, then in my part of the country, then it's a pretty solid deal. So anyway, so what we ended up doing, I said, Maria, I think I can do this, but really you've got a couple of options here. We can go long-term, and I'll bring, so 150 loan, she owed 149,000. There was a tiny bit of principal reductions. For all intents and purposes, she owed still the 150. And I said, I can do a long-term solution, but I'll only bring in like 132,000 to buy the $150,000 note, which means you've got to bring 18 to 20 grand to the table with closing costs just to make up for the discount. Or if you want to modify it to be equivalent to a hard money loan, and I said, what's your best alternative with a hard money loan? What can you get? And she said, well, if I did the brain damage of going through that process and they're not going to be as fast, I need something fast, she's going to start foreclosure on me. You know, it would be, I don't know, 3 points, 10%, interest only for 5 years. And I go, well, I could probably match that. But then I can only bring 142 to the table. So I would have given her a longer term and kept her rate the same, but I would have only brought in, let's just say 130. So that's like a $20,000 discount that she'd have, you know what I mean? I'll bring in 130 and she has to bring in 20 to keep the first person whole to get them to assign the note to us, the Kurtzmans and I. I said, but if we modify it to 10% and put a 5-year cap on it, I can bring in 142,000. So you only have to bring in 8,000 to make up the difference of the discount. And she says, okay, let's choose that option. I said, are you sure? Because I may have to be hard line on that 5-year call. Are you 100% sure that you and your junior lien holders are fine with that? Yes, yes, yes. So basically what we did is I basically said, okay, I told the escrow and title, we're bringing in 142, but we still got 8 more to pay the first lien holder and closing costs. So call that another 1,000 or 1,500. And so now I brought in, David, and he says, I'll do this deal. I'll do this deal with you. And I said, well, I got to get paid somewhere. And so what I did is I said, okay, Dave, you bring in 147. So what have I created as an upfront fee for me? I only am contracted to bring in 142, but I'm having my financial partner bring in 147, and he's still at 60 cents on the dollar here, right? There's $100,000 of equity that can disappear before he's going to lose money. So I had him bring 147. So there's $5,000 that I created as a deal maker spread for myself, and we modified the loan to interest only, 10%. For 5 years. So the borrower now, she gets 5 more years on this maturity date, and she pays $1,250 a month. I brought David in and said he would be fine so he's on it for, he bought a $150,000 note for 147, so at a discount. So if he just was doing the whole shtick himself, his yield would be 10.5, right? And that meets his objective. But as it is, I asked him if he would take 9 because I'm going to be servicing it. It's a business purpose loan. I think it'll be pretty easy to navigate. So basically, I asked him to take 9% on 150. So what would that be? So he's taking basically. That's not exactly right. Yeah, I must have had him taking 11%. I might, okay, I think I did the paper. I owe him more money than I said. Okay, so here's the deal. He's taking $11.25, and I'm keeping $25 a month just for servicing it. So I made $5,000 up front. My financial partner on this is making a solid 9% with an option to maybe own the property at some point or extend, for different terms, things like that. So And to me, I look at it as I got paid $5,000 for putting this deal together, $25 a month or so, keeps me whole on this, and covers my headache for taking in the payments and all that. And then there's a future plays here. Like, what if there's trouble and those junior lien holders need out? I hope it doesn't happen. I wouldn't want anyone to lose, their investment funds. But if something goes south, do you think they'd rather have a discount than be wiped out completely? So there might be opportunities for me to buy second and third lien holders off at a discount down the road. Now, I really hope that doesn't happen. But you can just see that if the first would have started foreclosure, they're at risk of being totally wiped off or having to keep the loan current and pay it off themselves. And I don't think any of those partners have the cash to do it. But anyway, so that's just one example of, instead of originating a note on the primary mortgage market, I bought an existing note on the secondary market and modified it to just create one solutions, just one mom and pop to another, which is a great way to wrap this call up. So use your powers for good and go out there and do likewise, like have fun, make money, and solve problems. And I really appreciate you being with me on this call. And if you want to check out the Property and Paper Summit, it's coming up on October 6th, 7th, and 8th, I want to say. And it is a very good time. It is a very small, intimate gathering. So be sure to check it out and grab your tickets early if you really want to join us at South Lake Tahoe for that. So anyway, thanks again. You're all wonderful. I appreciate you. And until next time.
You've been listening to Virtual Coffee with Dawn Rickabaugh. For more, please visit notequeen.com.
Basically, let's get down to the basics. What is a note? It's a promise to pay, and I owe you. I owe you this money, and I'm going to pay it back over these terms. Now, in real estate, and ideally, if you're making a loan, you have a security instrument. That means if you don't keep your promise, you're going to lose the asset. It's secured by an asset that can be retrieved and sold to get the lender out of their financial.